My name is Ayesha, and for most of my life, I thought my family was built on love, respect, and loyalty. I grew up believing my parents shared a bond that nothing could shake. My mother was the kind of woman people admired quietly, even if they never said it out loud. Soft spoken, graceful, and endlessly patient. And my father? Well, to me, he was always the strong, dependable figure who could do no wrong. But everything I believed about family, love, and loyalty crumbled on the day we buried my mother. I'll never forget the moment. The church was filled with people, neighbors, distant relatives, friends from work, all gathered to honor the life of the woman who had been the backbone of our home. The air was thick with grief. My younger brother clutched my hand so tightly his nails dug into my skin, as if letting go meant we'd lose her all over again. I stood there, numb, trying to hold myself together as the priest spoke about her kindness, her sacrifices, her devotion as a mother and a wife. But then it happened. A woman rose from the back pew. She wasn't family, not someone I recognized from our lives, but the moment she stood up, her presence demanded attention. Tall, striking, dressed in black, but in a way that screamed defiance rather than mourning, and in a voice that carried across the room like a blade cutting through silence. She said, "Kindness? Devotion? You all sit here pretending she was a saint. But do you really know who she was? Do you know how miserable she made the man sitting right there?" All eyes turned to my father. My heart stopped. It was as though the ground split open beneath me. Who was this woman? Why was she talking about my mother this way, here of all places, in the middle of her funeral? At first, I expected someone, anyone, to silence her. Maybe an usher, maybe one of the uncles, but no one moved. Instead, whispers began to ripple through the crowd. I looked at my father, and what I saw made my stomach twist into knots. He didn't look shocked. He didn't even look angry. He looked guilty. The woman's lips curled into a bitter smile as she continued. "You all think she was perfect, but while she played the good wife, she made sure the man she married lived in chains. He was lonely, desperate, and she never cared. I know, because I was the one he turned to. I was the one who gave him what she wouldn't." Gasps filled the room. My chest tightened until I couldn't breathe. She was saying this here, at my mother's funeral. I wanted to scream, to shout her down, to protect my mother's memory from this humiliation, but I couldn't move. My legs were frozen, my throat locked. My mother's coffin lay just feet away, and here was this woman shredding her dignity before it was even lowered into the ground. I couldn't decide what hurt more, the words spilling from that woman's mouth or the silence of my father, who let them hang in the air unchallenged. I should have run out then. I should have left before my image of him shattered completely. But I didn't. I stayed, like someone watching a train wreck, unable to look away. She went on, her voice sharp, every sentence like poison dripping onto my mother's name. She acted like she was better than everyone, but she couldn't keep her husband happy. That's why he came to me. That's why I know the real man beneath all his lies. Her words hit me like gunshots, and then she laughed as if mocking the grief in the room, as if mocking my mother herself. The priest tried to intervene, but it was too late. The damage was done. People were staring at us, not with sympathy anymore, but with suspicion, with judgment. And still my father sat there, silent. That night, I couldn't sleep. My mother's face haunted me, her voice, her laugh. But layered over those memories was that woman's voice, her sneer, her claim of being the one my father turned to. Was it true? Had he betrayed her? Had he betrayed us? I didn't want to believe it, but I couldn't forget the way he looked at that woman. Not with denial, not with anger, but with something like shame. And I hated him for it. Days turned into weeks, but the words of that woman clung to me like a curse. My father never brought her up, never explained. He buried himself in routine, as though silence could erase the humiliation. But I couldn't let it go. I started digging, quietly at first, through his phone, his emails, his office drawers. And that's when I found them. Emails. Dozens of them. Letters written late at night. Words of love, of longing, of guilt. My father had been seeing her for years. My chest cracked open. My mother lived her final years in the shadow of his betrayal, and she never told us. She carried that pain to her grave. I remember throwing the papers across the room, my hands shaking, my vision blurred with tears. I wanted to hate him completely, but a part of me still wanted to understand. Why? Why betray a woman who gave everything for us? I confronted him. One evening, I stood in the kitchen, holding the printed emails, my voice trembling with rage. Was it true? Was she telling the truth at the funeral? Were you with her? He didn't deny it. He didn't even try. He just sat down, put his face in his hands, and whispered, "I'm sorry." Sorry, as if that single word could repair what he had broken. I screamed at him then. Years of trust shattered in an instant. My mother's silence, her patience, her sacrifices, all betrayed. And all he could say was sorry. I told him I would never forgive him. Not for the affair, not for allowing that woman to desecrate my mother's funeral, and not for breaking the family we thought we had. That night, I went to bed but couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, replaying every memory of my parents, every smile, every fight, every silent dinner. And suddenly, I saw it all differently. The way my mother's eyes sometimes looked far away, the way she'd pause when he didn't come home on time, the way she once told me, "Not all battles are worth fighting, Aisha. Some you just survive." Had she known? Had she chosen silence because she thought it was better than the alternative? I would never know, and that thought broke me more than anything else. From that day on, I decided I would not let my father's betrayal define me. I would not let that woman's cruelty erase my mother's legacy. I began speaking about her, not as the broken woman betrayed by her husband, but as the strong, selfless mother who raised us with love and dignity. I told her stories to my younger brother so he would remember her for who she truly was. And every time I spoke her name, it felt like stitching a piece of her back together, piece by piece, until her memory belonged to us again, not to the lies of others. But I will never forget that day, standing in the church, numb with grief, as my father's secret lover mocked my mother's memory. I was speechless then, too broken to fight back. But I am not speechless anymore. This is my voice. This is my truth. This is my mother's story. And no matter what they tried to do to her memory, they will never take away the love she gave us. Because betrayal might wound the living, but dignity belongs to the dead. And that was my truth. A story I never thought I would live through, but one that changed me forever. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love us the most end up breaking us in ways strangers never could. But remember, no betrayal, no heartbreak, and no secret has the power to define who you truly are. If this story touched you, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever experienced a betrayal that shook your world? I'd love to hear your voice. And don't forget, subscribe to Tear Strings for more real, raw, and unforgettable stories like this one. Turn on the bell so you never miss the next twist in life's journey. Until next time, stay strong, stay true, and remember, you are never alone in your pain.